Hi, everyone. Today we have a different sort of episode than we usually do. So I'm here first giving you a little introduction, letting you know about it. This week, Adam wanted to get out and meet people in person, go talk to them about the podcast, that sort of thing. So last Saturday afternoon, we took some equipment out to Dolores Park in San Francisco, and we went around meeting people, handing out cards and talking about the podcast first, and sat down there in the park with a table and a banner with the logo for the podcast on it and recorded an episode right there outside. So what this episode is, the first half is us walking around talking to people, and then the second half is going to be that episode that we recorded. It begins with me running behind because I had to set up my equipment, so I'm catching up to Adam and going from there. All right. And away we go. All right. I finally have all my gear together. We're at the park. Dolores Park on a Saturday. And Adam and I have come out to canvass the park and talk to people about the podcast. Face to face, in person. This is a nice day. I see people out laying around. Got some volleyball games going. People with laptops. Lots of blankets, groups. Lots of people here. It's pretty crowded. And I'm not sure where Adam is. Let's see here. I think I see him over there. All right, definitely that's him. Okay. Walking with a banner. Here we go. What's up, Adam?
You guys some podcast listeners? I bet you are. Don't lie. There you go. We're going to record up here in a second. Solutions from the Multiverse. Did we talk? I can't remember if I talked to those people already. I think I did. They looked at me like this. And I was like, the dead silence response.
Just a blank stare back at you?
They just seven people. Like, podcasts? Like, do you live under a rock? They don't even know what a podcast is.
I mean, I don't think we should take the attitude that we're the cool ones for knowing more about podcasts.
That's right. We're not the cool ones. We're the other ones. You guys like podcasts? We're actually recording one right now as we walk around.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
We do. We were just talking about podcasts, actually. What is this about? Yeah.
Every week, an unheard of solution, a new and unheard of solution to the world's problems.
He's the idea man. He comes up with ideas. I try to shoot holes in them, but
Yeah, I love that.
we talk about them, and
Nice. Very
Local
nice.
dudes.
Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Right on.
Check it out.
Thanks.
Good.
Awesome. Yeah. Try it out.
This is great. This is uncomfortable for me. I am not an extrovert at all.
No, it's good. It's working. Oh my God, you're reading the best book in existence. This is the best book in existence here.
We were admiring your book.
You're reading the Bhagavad Gita, the greatest book in existence.
We're both big fans.
Yeah. Are you a big fan of Bhagavad Gita?
I love it. Yeah, I read it in Hawaii on a beach.
No.
Yeah, I love it.
I
It's
read
great.
it once in Thailand on a beach. Yes.
Well, I endorse. A total stranger that you've never met before totally endorses
Total endorsement. Total endorsement.
it. Can't ask for a stronger
Oppenheimer.
recommendation.
But yeah, check it out. Enjoy it.
Thanks for letting us bug you. Enjoy the book.
Have a lovely day.
Right on.
What is the podcast about?
It's basically like a new solution every week that you've never heard before to the world's problems. I'm like a zany professor. I've got all kinds of ideas.
Yeah, but it's fun. We're proud of it.
Like, could you give a description of today?
It is, but he doesn't know it yet.
I don't know.
So I don't want to.
Do you want me to? Should I walk away?
You want to watch?
I don't actually. I won't know until he brings it up, and then
This
we'll talk
episode will
about it.
come out in 2 weeks. He doesn't know the problem or the solution. It's always a different problem too. Although we did do like the last 8 episodes were like climate.
Okay, I'll step away, and you can tell them.
Okay.
Hello.
What is the Multiverse?
We're making a podcast. We make a podcast every week, and this is Adam brings in solutions. He's like, oh, this is the ideas there are other universes where the problems that we have here are already solved. So I'm just going to go look in those other universes, pull the solutions, and bring them here. So it's a way we can talk about interesting solutions to problems facing us, like voting problems or education issues or poverty, wealth stuff, different problems that this guy comes up with, and we talk about it every week. It's pretty fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We saw you from far away, and I
Yes.
was like, what is the multiverse?
That's it. That's it.
Like,
It's
at the beginning, we thought you were like have, from, how do you say, this church of, what did I say? Scientology stuff.
the Scientology.
I was
Yeah.
like, what are they?
We could be like Scientologists for sure.
Yeah.
But no, we're even worse. We're coming out telling about our podcast. If there's one thing worse than like proselytizing about
No, but
religion,
I was very curious, I was like, I hope they will come.
that's it. We're making it.
Because I'm somewhat curious.
Oh man, well
What is multiverse?
you're making my day because I am such an introvert. I'm scared to do this. This is my friend's idea, Adam's idea. So
Really? So
Yeah.
this is the first time you're doing it?
first time we're going out in public and doing this. Yeah. Normally are recording at Adam's house. I
Yeah,
make
but so you're talking together.
talking together, and sometimes we have a guest, but usually it's just the two of us talking.
And what is your background then?
I'm a comedy guy. I make podcasts. I actually work in podcasting.
Okay.
So that's what I do. And he's a professor. He teaches coding, and he's actually starting a new college right now as well. But
Okay.
yeah, Adam's also just a well-read. He's like a curious guy.
Okay.
So he's always thinking and writing down stuff.
Now I know what this is about.
The multiverse, hopefully. Yeah,
No, that's cool.
Well, thank you so much.
absolutely. Good to meet you. Thanks for chatting.
Oh, cool.
Do you guys know more than me now?
Yeah, we do. We had a great.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Awesome. Well, check it out. And yeah,
Very cool.
we're going to keep
Thanks for letting us pass you. Adam, wait, somebody asking over here.
They want a card?
I told them yes. They were asking what the multiverse was.
Oh, what is the multiverse?
I tried to explain it.
Hey, multiverse guy, how you doing?
You know what the multiverse is? Doesn't everyone know?
Just explain it to me.
It's the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics.
Well, that's not what I said.
You say this is parallel universe where we
Yeah.
solve the
All the
problem
problems are already solved.
Yeah, you ask what the multiverse is. He says Copenhagen science, and I say, you remember the Spider-Man movie that just came out?
That's right. That's right.
So what's the problem today?
Can't tell you because he doesn't know you.
I'm not alled to know. Okay.
Great
Okay.
chatting.
Good to meet you. Thank you. Thanks for letting us take your time.
Take care.
I see some nerds. We need nerds.
What?
Nerds are, I don't know, I don't see, I can't tell if any of these nerds are going to be good. I don't know. Maybe these guys.
We're walking around with headphones and a microphone in the park. I think we're the nerds.
Solutions from the multiverse. Yeah, right here. We're going to record it. You want to check it out?
We're good, we're
It's okay. It's okay. You guys, our podcast queues are full. I get it. Yeah. Let's see.
Was that your first turn down?
No, third, fourth. You guys like podcasts? We're going to record one right here in a second. Check it out.
Thanks for letting us know. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. All right. Maybe we do another just 5 minutes.
Wait, what is this? What is conversation starter?
So this is it. So what happens? I hold the sign. You guys come up and ask me what's conversation starter. I tell you pick a card.
Oh, Scott.
Go ahead.
Pick a card.
I'll pick a card.
Okay.
This one.
And then there's a question.
All right. Do I read this or?
Read it out loud.
When you think of home, what immediately comes to mind?
This is right now.
When I think of home, what immediately comes to mind, I mean, just Kansas. That's where I grew up. So I think of Kansas, and that brings to mind, like, all my friends and family and everything that I grew up with, like, good times growing up,
Yeah.
not having to have a job.
Yeah.
It's good.
Not a good job.
Yeah.
That's home.
How about you?
When I immediately think about a home, I guess I think about like just like the kitchen, smells of the kitchen, like rice being made, or like I like to bake, so baking in the kitchen, or my mom would make pies, pumpkin pie and apple pie, or like my wife makes good food, and I just think that's kind of the heart, it's kind
that's
of the
really
center.
good. That's very good. For me, I think of an apartment complex. I grew up in this like apartment complex where I look now, I know what's happening now, but like it was at a university, but a lot of the families had kids, and all of us would just like it was like every morning, run outside, and you could just have 20 kids of us playing there. So like I always think of that like apartment, you know, like going outside the apartment complex as home. It's funny now because the apartment complex is still there, but the friends aren't there because it was like a transient place naturally. But I go there and I don't know any of the kids, but I'm like, I know exactly what you guys are feeling.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's what we need. We're losing that.
I know.
Society's losing play.
I know.
It's like the Cat Stevens song, Where Will the Children Play?
And I'm Scott. This is Adam.
Okay.
I don't think I got your name.
I'm Kyle.
Kyle, nice to meet
Scott.
you, sir. Good to meet
Adam.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm doing. I'm here talking to people about
This is great.
all sorts of stuff.
I love that.
What you guys are up to?
I love
We do a
that.
podcast where every week we do a new solution.
Okay.
Unheard of solution to the world's problems.
Oh, very good.
I bet you've got a few of those.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So we pick one. Adam has a big book full of these things, and he picks one out. We dive into it for a half hour, an hour or so, and
I love it.
test it out, see what it would look like. What would this look like in reality? Try to think it through.
Okay, I love it. Oh, are you guys talking
We're
today?
going to go record. We're actually recording right now.
you're
but then we're
recording
going to
now.
record.
I'm recording this whole thing as we go and talk to people, but also then we're going to sit down and do a real one where
Very nice.
we just get into it. I don't even know. But if you have an idea or a solution you want to bring to us, we will.
Great.
Or you're like, I'm worried about this thing in the world.
Okay.
Bring it up, and I mean, right now would be great, and
Okay.
we'll tackle it in the
got
future
one.
of one. What do you got for it?
So the
this is-
question that I'm interested in and trying to kind of solve here is, how do you signal to people that you're willing to have a conversation when you're in a group of people, right? Because my challenge is when I went to, my friends are like, oh, let's go to events to meet people. And you go to an event and it might be like a bar or a club or a book, around a book or whatever. And it's always centered around something else. But how do you signal to people that I'm willing to talk, right? I actually want to have this kind of conversation. The way I've solved this right now is I'm holding up a sign in public, right? And just trying to signal to people that I want to have that. But I think that, people always say people used to talk more back in the day, or people are more willing. And I don't know if it's actually that they were more willing. I think that there's probably just as many people who are willing to have a conversation. They just don't know how to signal to each other
To start it.
that we want to do that.
Yeah.
So, other than being
Do you want a
outrageously
solution
extroverted, other
I
than
have a
being
solution
outrageous.
to that.
Okay, tell me.
Scott, you have a solution to this.
What?
The Brazilian steakhouse solution. At a Brazilian steakhouse, you have a little card. It's red on one side, it's green on the other. When you want more meat, you turn it to green. When you want no meat, you turn it to red.
Yes,
We
that's
need
it.
the
That's right.
Conversation Brazilian steakhouse red-green card.
Exactly.
And you just wear it on your chest.
And it's like,
you turn it
stop.
around.
Just,
Red,
I'm good.
I'm good. Green.
I'm comboed
Gum.
out. I'm comboed out.
Bright green is like, please talk to me. Please. I'm having a day. I really need.
Yeah, someone show
Constant
up.
interaction.
Yeah. That's just silly, but yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
Right
I guess it makes me be interested or question then, like, so we have conversations. Do we have it just for the sake of having conversations, or is there kind of a goal that having conversations is getting us to? Is it a means or an end? For you?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I treat it as you do it for the sake of it. Now, there are certain conversations I'd rather have, definitely, right? Like, they're not evenly distributed in terms of my preference. But I don't know. I have to just be open to it and then find those. I don't know if I'm going like, I only want to have this kinds of conversation. I think I'll miss out on a bunch of interesting
Are you trying
things.
to have conversations to make more friends? Because friends are known to be very good for you and very happy. Make
I think
people
it's like make friends. I like interesting thoughts, and other people have thoughts that are interesting that aren't mine.
But
right?
it's not like I want to grow my network so that I can get a job.
But
at Goldman Sachs.
even those people, like,
not that
I'm
bad.
okay. Yeah,
It's not a bad
exactly. Like, I think about it like, what are they? Open world games. That's what
Yeah.
all conversations
Yeah,
are, right? Where you just like start one, and you just kind of like it. Kind of can. Maybe it turns into a networking. Maybe it turns to a friend. Maybe it turns to your spouse. Maybe it turns to just
Could
like
be anything.
they tell you a joke that you steal from them and you tell everywhere you go now, right? You treat it as your own.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Is that
You have a
a
joke?
means
That's
or
not
an
very
end?
specific. What joke are you thinking?
I know. I have one that I need to take. But I don't know. Does that count as a means or an end?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like it would be both, right?
Yeah.
But I was wondering if for you it was like an end in itself. Conversation is inherently pleasurable, inherently eudaimonia-inducing,
It's like one of the things I want to optimize for is living an interesting life. And what I mean, and like for that, I just want to have stuff that I'm like, oh, that was like worth living. That was fun to do.
Yeah.
And being open to other people is a great way to find things,
Home base.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the way I get to people is through conversation. That's like the entrance door, right?
Right. If you were like a master tango dancer, then you would just want to tango with everyone.
Yeah, then you're just.
But you're
Yeah. But what I want to do is I want to talk to the podcast guys. I want to talk to the tango guy. I want to talk to the
everybody.
Yeah. I just want to get a little bit of everything.
So if you come out, do you do this often, or is this a thing that you regularly or
often? There's a regular calendar. We have an events calendar where we're doing it.
Wait, we?
Oh yes, we're an organization.
Oh my gosh! Wait, it's like two people like us, or
yes,
like
I see the Hark.sf at your.
Hark.sf. Yeah, so we're a team of 6 people. All volunteer right now. That we just help organize events to start conversations with people. So you see, like, these guys have a sign. They're doing it.
Yeah.
There's other groups of people just having conversations. But that's it. Yeah, I like to. I guess. Let me ask you guys about podcasts.
Yeah.
Because, for example, for me, I guess I had no idea what I was going to talk to you guys about today. Right? I had no idea.
You didn't have an idea. He has a microphone and earbuds.
I look pretty weird.
No, sorry. I'm saying before I got here.
Yeah, before I got here.
But
As we walked up, it was pretty obvious.
The thing I think about podcasts, you guys have to know what you're talking about before, right?
Yeah.
Ideally, I mean that's what you want to do. You want to take care of the listeners,
That's
time.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So to not just be like, what do we talk about?
Yeah, see, the stakes are way higher for me. I can come up here and be like, I don't know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. And people will still engage with me, kind of, right?
Have you ever heard of the Great Conversation?
No, tell me.
That's like a thing in academia, which is like where you talk about. It's the idea is that Plato wrote a book or did his project philosophically, and then Aristotle responded to his like a conversation, and then other people a thousand years later, Kierkegaard had things to say to Aristotle, so he wrote, and then we read the books, and then we are now in conversation with this thousands of year old conversation that's happening through the sort of web of history, or the sort of braid of history. Anyways, that's called the Great Conversation.
I like that.
I went to a school where that was what we did.
What'd you study? Philosophy?
Yeah.
You studied
Conversation. It's called the Great Books or the Great Conversation.
Oh, did you take the class? Did you study philosophy?
Well, it's a very specialized school. There's only 75 people graduate every year. And it's all Great Conversation. And that's what you do every class. You sit and talk for 2 hours.
Tell me more.
Yeah. You meet Mondays and Thursdays are a seminar in the evenings, and you meet and you have 2 professors so that it isn't dominated by one voice.
Yes.
So the classes have 2 professors and like 25 students, and you talk for 2 hours about one of the great books.
That's interesting. So I studied psychology, but I sat into all the philosophy classes at my campus. I should have just majored in philosophy. I don't know why I didn't. But so as a result of that, I had a lot of exposure to lots of these great books.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to hear what's your favorite conversation or favorite book or most impactful to you throughout that?
We just met a guy reading the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
And I was like, that's the best book ever written. Really? That's a great book. Yeah.
Okay, I know. Okay.
Do you have a best book?
Best book? I can tell you what's the most impactful for me right now.
Yeah.
In general, broader thought, like Nietzsche really impacted me. Like,
which one?
Beyond Good and Evil and Genealogy of Morals. Like, really, like.
Evolution applied to Christianity.
Yeah. That like really.
Darwin screws up Christianity.
Yeah. That really. That's one that like impacted my worldview very much.
Yeah.
The one that's I thought a lot about right now is Kierkegaard.
Hey.
Fear and Trembling.
Fear and Trembling.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And this idea that
that's a hard book. Kierkegaard is hard to read. I never understood Kierkegaard. I don't think I understood one word of Kierkegaard. It's so hard.
I was like, I'm in a group of friends of ours, so we try to problem solve it. And the idea that really struck me is I remixed the language to maybe a little more modern, but I think like conviction. I think Kierkegaard's question is, how do you deal with conviction, right? Yeah. Because it's so personal, right? You guys might both of you, right, might say, I want to start a podcast, and I know that's what I want to do.
Right.
And I can give you a bunch of reasons why it's a bad idea to start a podcast, right?
I don't know any of those.
Yeah, I can give you.
I don't think there are any.
And you can still, and you can still be aware of those things. Like I can tell you those things exactly, and still have the conviction. And in that place, Kierkegaard uses Abraham about to kill his son Isaac as the example. But in that place, like I can't reason with you anymore, right? Because it's not rational,
Have you ever heard of crony beliefs? No. This is a very interesting topic that might be very germane to this idea. So there are 2 types. So this is a sort of psychological thing. There's 2 types of beliefs. Yeah. One is regular beliefs, and the other is crony beliefs. Yeah. And you only get people are only offended when their crony beliefs are challenged. When their regular beliefs are challenged, they don't care. Like if you were like, let's go to this restaurant, and we were like, great, and then you were like, the restaurant is down there, over there, and then I looked on Google Maps and it was like, no, actually it's over there. You'd be like, oh, oops.
Yeah, sure.
You wouldn't care, right? Because it's just the factual. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you were like, I really believe in democracy, and someone was like, no, actually democracies are too chaotic. We should have like an autocracy, one-party system thing. You'd be like, no, I'm like offended by that. And so there's this idea that crony beliefs are the beliefs that your identity relies on. And so when they're challenged, you push back because your identity is built as an organ of your psyche is built to sort of keep the field, protect the field, protect where you are. And so I wonder if conviction is really just a sort of another word in Kierkegaard's is another word for crony belief, but he's posing it almost as a positive.
Yes.
But the crony belief framing poses it as very much a negative, like an irrational or absurd concept. Really? But that makes sense because he's an existentialist, so he's a bit of an absurdist. Yeah.
What he's going to say is calls them the Knights of Faith, right?
Yeah.
But he might, and I think there's like, I'm going to talk more about this crony belief, but I think it's a good argument that this can be positive because some of the great works that we have from mankind are things that people started that made no sense, like some of the ideas.
Things,
yeah, exactly. Or you're just like,
but also some of the worst things.
Exactly. Yeah, and so that's Kierkegaard's point. That's actually what Kierkegaard wants to say. Kierkegaard's like, before we actually see it play out, both of the insane person and the genius, like they're both in a place that's irrational, right? And we can't actually have.
So here's the problem with Kierkegaard for me, and you can like bring this to your group or whatever. And this is what I learned about him, which then made him incomprehensible to me, which is that he wrote all of his books with pseudonyms.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so he actually would embody these pseudonyms,
ideas,
which means that he's not being honest.
Oh, that's it.
He's actually using irony in every one of his books. He even has a book called The Concept of Irony, which is like a signal. Hey, I don't actually mean anything I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm embodying this character, which is the pseudonym, and I'm speaking from their convictions.
Yeah.
Is he like, no, that's not me. That's Kierkegaard. That's who wrote this book. That's not. I didn't write that. Completely different name.
An Icelandic philosopher named Kierkegaard.
How would you think that's me?
Different than.
This is the same as the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita also is nested narration.
Same idea.
And then also Plato's dialogues.
Yes.
Not just nested into the voice of Socrates, also nested into who's relating the dialogue.
Yes.
Every dialogue begins with, hey, do you remember when Socrates was talking to that guy? Yeah, what happened? Well, let me tell you.
Yeah,
and then somebody else says it. So Kierkegaard is in that same tradition of like a nested pseudonymical irony is everything. So when he says that about conviction, he might be saying, don't have convictions. Convictions are what idiots have,
So let me say two things to that.
Maybe.
Reply to that two things. One is, I was going to ask, do you think that's any different than like authors who write characters in a fictional book, and they might it's something that they've imagined, but the character's expressing some of their own
one
beliefs.
more level up.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like in Don Quixote does this, right? At the very beginning of Don Quixote is like, I found this manuscript and I'm translating it, and it's like, what the hell is Cervantes saying? But he puts himself at one step removed, and it gives him like another axis of freedom. If you're on it, then you only have one axis of freedom.
But this comes tied to the crony beliefs, right? Should we have them? And do you think it's possible to not have them?
Well, I think the Buddha says that the path to wisdom is dissolution of the ego through compassion and mindfulness. I think when he talks about ego, I think he kind of means identity too. So I actually think we should try to sort of deal with the delusions that identity causes. Like, I don't think we should have convictions.
That's interesting.
I think we should try to eliminate delusions through critical analysis and wacky wisdom, wackiness as well, but also careful thinking and precise analysis of one's own crony beliefs. And try to turn more of the world into normal beliefs and have fewer and fewer things in the world be crony beliefs. Yeah,
that's really interesting. And I don't.
This is why you have this.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm torn on this right now because I'm torn because I see a lot of the merit of that, right? I think it's like you should disengage with ideas once you're given contrary evidence that allows you to go otherwise, and you should be willing.
And don't be butthurt about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I also recognize there are moments where you need conviction because you're facing some absurd times, right?
You don't have enough information to make a decision, so you have to make a decision.
Or I'm also thinking about being at war, right? Like if I'm in a foxhole, I just have to I can't be doubting and thinking like, just as a survival tactic, right? Just like, this is what,
doubting everything, writing the Tractatus, logical philosophy.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, like, I think that there is a practical purpose in this conviction, in those moments, right? I'm sure you've had times in your life where you're like, at least for me, I can say, this makes no sense. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm just going to do it purely off conviction.
Right.
And I look back and I'm like, that was irrational, but it's the tool I needed to help me get through that spot, right? And I do recognize, like,
I mean, you must have conviction because we have bounded knowledge and bounded rationality.
Yeah.
And so, you don't have enough information. But the question is, I think, more about attitude. Is your attitude, this is the Bible and I believe it, kill all the infidels, which is a lot like it's two versus, this is interesting and I've learned a lot from that, but I'm willing to learn more and I'm ready to be wrong and I'm curious. I'm actually excited to be wrong because I want to keep having breakthroughs and keep resolving delusions and resolving Manichaean dichotomies of my categories in my mind. But the danger of what Kierkegaard I think is making fun of with irony is the idea that you should just be like, I've got the Bible, gun-ho, and this is what I believe. And because I think a lot of Kierkegaard's project is to try to disrupt Hegelianism. Yeah. And in his time, the Hegelians were just totally lockstep psycho cultish Hegelians, and they just followed Hegel he was just God, and there was no way, there was no like space to like wedge in anything. And so he had to create these people, these fake pseudonym people who were Hegelians, but then who through irony were actually sort of fundamentally leading to a kind of disruption of Hegelian thought.
So let me ask you this about conviction, because one of the places I think where it's really practical is like your spouse and getting married. Right,
gotta get married.
You just do it. It's a thing. It's a decision you make purely on conviction. You have no idea what the rest of your life is going to be like. If you're both going to get sick or die. If you're going to be compatible forever. Yeah. But you make this decision on a conviction, and you stay together because you made it on a conviction, right? Yeah. Or like that's like it's one of the mechanisms people use to stay true to that. So how do you think about because that's an example where I say you kind of need an irrational conviction. Right, and I think that if you're in the kind of
I don't believe with your premise.
Okay.
Because we're monogamous creatures, so. Okay.
Let me finish. Okay, so let me finish this. I'm not tied to this. I'm pitching the argument.
Yeah, you're saying there are cases. Where you need to act.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't think marriage is, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that
marriage is great.
I use marriage as an example because I think it's a moment where you make a decision of conviction, and you have to like. There's going to be moments where maybe you're wavering, and you're like, "Is this make sense? Should I let go of this conviction?" Right? Yeah. But I think if you have that attitude, it might harm you in the broad scheme if that's how you approach every incident, right?
Is that you're kind of wish flip-flop. So you're saying you don't have stick-to-itiveness. If you don't have conviction, you want to stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah. Or there's a place, exactly. Yeah. And I think that there's I think for things that are rational, we're just like, hey, just let go of that idea, that makes sense.
Yeah. But philosopher, I think I'm reminded of what Steve Martin said about studying philosophy, because Steve Martin, the comedian, studied philosophy.
Oh, really?
And he said all the other majors gave you just enough that you could then get into the world, start a career, and you had just enough to make it to the next step and to succeed. Yeah. You study philosophy, they taught you just enough, not a lot, but just enough to screw you up for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
And so maybe it is kind of impractical to have a philosophical attitude. Yeah. But that's putting the value of practicality over the value for truth.
That's interesting.
And that's maybe also the kind of craziness of the philosopher is that they put the value of truth over the value of practicality. Yes. They're an impractical way to approach life.
That's so interesting.
It can be practical though. Do you know the story of the mathematician? I can't remember his name now. It starts with a TH, like a theta. Yeah. Anyways, there was this mathematician, famous astronomer mathematician, and he was walking and looking at the sky, and he fell into a hole and hurt himself. And everyone's like, "Oh, stupid, impractical philosopher fell into a hole right in front of his face because he was looking at the stars," And he got so mad that he was like, "Screw those guys! I'm going to use what I know about the weather to monopolize the olive presses.
Oh, really?
Because he predicted that there was going to be a big drought and all the olive presses would go out of business, and he bought up all the olive presses on credit, and then there was a bunch of rain and there was tons of olives, and he monopolized it, so he jacked up the prices, and he was like, screw you guys, because I you know, the philosopher can actually be very practical if they decide to be. So you have to decide to do it, you know, but it's not as fun as just doing philosophy. We better keep hustling here. So this is awesome. Well, we should be in touch.
I was going to say, can you tell me your name again?
Kyle Emil.
Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it. This is cool.
This was like,
I'd love
this
to
is
be part of the conversation group.
Yes, absolutely. Scott Adams, right?
Scott
And Adam.
Yep.
Great to meet you
You're
guys.
Kyle Emil.
Yes. I wish you guys the best on.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it so much.
This is such an interesting thing you've got going on. Awesome. Podcast we're about to record over there.
Oh, awesome.
Check it out. guys.
What is it called?
New solutions from the multiverse.
From the multiverse. I thought you were like walking
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, see if you
Okay.
come closer.
All right.
Yep.
I'm gonna check you guys out.
All right,
Thanks, man.
guys. Yeah.
We're going to stop this. Was this recording?
Should I already say it? Should I go straight into it?
Do you want to bring it out?
I can start right now.
Yeah, you're being asked. Point
Okay,
blank.
my name's Adam Browse.
I'm Scott Maupin. We're outside today for the first time.
Dolores Park is all around us.
And
Beautiful day.
Welcome to Solutions from the Multiverse.
Scott's got like an 80-year-old Jewish man who just came out of an eye doctor's
What?
sunglasses on.
Oh, my sunglasses. Yes. My sunglasses have to be large enough to fit over my regular glasses, which are already large. So it's a thing.
And we have a solution. The solution for today is called bottom-up bailouts.
Bottom-up bailouts?
Bottom-up bailouts.
What? I don't even know what this could possibly mean.
It's a brand new thing. Well, you know what a bailout is, right?
Yes.
Like something goes off the rails, something goes wrong. Banks fail, blah, blah, blah. Hurricanes, pandemics.
Your boat starts filling with water.
You got to bail it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what?
So what's bottom-up bailouts?
Yeah.
It's actually a good way to bail a boat. You want to bail from the bottom. Well, I guess if the water's really high, you better take it from the top.
But you have to explain. We have someone here.
Oh,
You have to explain what this is right now.
So when we do bailouts,
customer service.
when we do bailouts, they're usually top down, right? That's the default way, right? 2008, you said it. 2008, Obama was like, let's cut checks to like Goldman Sachs and like Citibank and Chase Bank. Like, let's give trillions of dollars to these huge, super wealthy banks who then turned around and gave like bonuses to their executives, right? I mean, this is all known. I'm not making this up.
Good job getting those
in a way,
bailouts.
you can't make it up because it's so bad. It's like so dumb. So we know it's not. We've been living under this crazy impression. Ever since 2008, there's been crises, and we've needed further bailouts. And in the future, we're going to need more bailouts. It's not like crises are going to stop.
But it's not the bailouts part that I'm curious. What's the bottom up part?
So that's what I'm saying. What we need is a law that says this is how you do bailouts. We need like a bailout law that says you must do bailouts from the bottom up. You must give the bottom, the least powerful people must receive the highest benefit of the bailout.
Okay.
So let's rewind to 2008, right? So everyone starts seeing all this, contagion crap in the mortgage market because of these, credit default swaps and whatever. Watch The Big Short if you don't know it. Just watch The Big Short. But what Obama did was he was like, let's bail out the banks. Let's bail out the executives. Let's bail out the owners of the banks. That's crazy. Just bail out the owners of the homes. Just say we're doing a mortgage payment moratorium. And all your payments are paid for by the federal government, but 60-80% until we figure this out. And then go talk to the banks and be like, you guys are all taking a haircut for the American people because we're the government and we have all the guns and bombs, so we get to decide.
So let me see if I understand. So instead of giving a large chunk of money to like the top people and saying, give this out to the lower people,
please, which then they
you
don't
give
do it.
Lots
either.
more smaller chunks to the bottom tier,
right,
and have that money funnel up.
Exactly.
Okay, but
Bottom
all
up
the rich
bailouts.
people who were going to get all that money are going to be against this, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. There's very few of them. There's many of us.
I mean, usually when the people with money are against something, they tend to have a outsized voice. I've noticed.
There are cases where that's not true, isn't there? Aren't there cases where the rich people don't get what they want? Are there cases where that happens?
I know it's definitely true in like baseball.
In baseball, well, that's a good start.
People buy championships
because what happens in America happens in baseball. So I think there are risks to those institutions, but you know what? If everybody is getting their mortgage paid by the federal government, everything's fine, right? That from a contagion sort of perspective. Also, what you really just need to do is buy time to set up a more concrete sort of, fix where these guys, I'm not saying, we need to set up a guillotine in Times Square, I'm saying, yeah, these powerful, wealthy people have a role to play, but their role is not to just raid the U.S. Treasury every time something bad goes on. Their job is to actually have responsibility and more knowledge than the rest of us about how these things work. And then we as the public have to deputize them to actually solve problems when there is a crisis. But that doesn't mean they just get a big blank check every time there's a hurricane or something or a pandemic or whatever. Awesome.
Well, that was cool. We just talked to a guy who came by. We met some people here in the park. So that was kind of a cold intro. We didn't even get to do the normal banter we normally do. But
he was a conversationalist too.
Yeah,
he was part of that same
people.
Group.
We talked to one earlier, Kyle, and they're out here with signs saying "conversation starter," and they want you to come up and talk to them. And we're like, hey, that's exactly right up our alley right now.
But yeah, back to bottom out bailouts.
So when a company goes under, does this look like
bail out the employees?
The money, like the employees get a check from the government that says, hey.
Well, only if it's so catastrophic. I mean, we don't just do bailouts for anything.
I don't really know how bailouts. I mean, I was living in Japan during the 2008 whole thing, and I didn't come back until 2009, late 2009. So I missed a lot of what was going on during that time.
Yeah.
But
we do bailouts for like catastrophic events, like things that are going to like seize up the mechanisms of the economy so dangerously that it would actually be far less costly to just give a bunch of money from the public coffers to prevent it from happening than to let it happen. So like in the 2008 crisis, there was such a risk to the financial institutions because it was self-inflicted, those idiots. They created credit default swaps and then they didn't do enough due diligence and they bought all this garbage, junk derivatives.
And then once it started falling apart, everyone was just racing to...
and if we hadn't bailed them out, maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 major banks would have failed, which sounds like, well, screw them, they're rich anyways. But actually there are problems with that because then you have this cascading effect where the banks failing actually causes normal people like you and me to lose our houses or lose our
Thank you so much for
whatever.
Including me in the normal people.
Yeah. Normal people.
I very rarely get included into that group of, normal people like Scott.
I mean economically normal, Scott.
Oh, okay.
I don't mean like
thank you
personality-wise.
Appreciate it. Hey, I'll take any accusation of normal I can get. I'll take it. Man, here's the problem. I'm distracted out here by how beautiful the day is.
Yeah.
And it's just gorgeous scenery. I'm looking out. I don't want to
paint the scene with words, Scott.
I was like,
paint a picture.
I don't want to detract from the bottom out bailouts, but I'm looking over at San Francisco from Dolores Park, and we see the Transamerica Pyramid.
Yep.
I see Salesforce Tower over there.
Mission Dolores itself, Mission Dolores High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
And palm trees, a completely beautiful blue sky, a little bit of clouds in the distance.
Some beautiful electric cargo bikes.
I mean, it's a 10 out of 10 day.
There's
we
fantastic
couldn't have picked a better
electric
day for this.
cargo bikes. Yeah, this is amazing.
This is great.
This is like peak San Francisco. Like it's like 70.5 degrees. Like it's not that warm, but it's in the sun. It's warm. In the shade, it's cool.
I chose to wear a long sleeve black shirt for unexplainable reasons.
You look like an incel, Scott. You look.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You fit right in San Francisco.
What? My long sleeve black, my long black thermal out in the middle of September with giant headphones, giant sunglasses, and a giant microphone walking around. I'm raising alarm bells. Is that what you're telling me?
No, not in a dangerous way. Just like in a
Have you met my human red flag friend here?
you like the indoors better than the outdoors.
That's clearly true. I will not deny that ever.
So you know why I came up with the bottom out bailouts?
Why is that?
Because of the scene that we're looking at. We are directly looking at downtown San Francisco.
Okay.
And right now there is a news story circulating around, which is the idea of a doom loop. Have you heard this?
Doom loop?
Doom loop. That
No.
San Francisco, the downtown San Francisco, and many downtowns are in a doom loop. And the doom loop came from the COVID. Basically, COVID made it so everyone went and did work from home,
Right.
which would have been fine if it was temporary. But now people have like these permanent flex schedules where they're working maybe they're working in the office only 2 days a week.
Right.
Which means the downtowns of cities who have for 50 years have invested enormous amounts of money in commercial real estate.
Yeah.
All those mortgages on that commercial real estate is not good anymore.
Am I allowed to say yay for that?
Well,
I don't like office spaces.
I mean,
I like working from home.
I know. Oh, me too. I mean, yes. Yes. But the problem is there will probably be a bailout. This is exactly like 2008. Probably not as much contagion. Like it probably won't influence the rest of the economy as deeply as like a housing crisis, like a
Right.
mortgage crisis.
Right.
But a commercial real estate debt crisis is, like, I don't know, maybe 2 to 5 times less severe, but it's still a big deal. And that means that there might be a bailout in the next, year or two of commercial real estate. And
Here's why
I
that
think it
bums
should
me
be
out.
a bottom-up bailout. It shouldn't go to the billionaires and 100 millionaires who own, these giant commercial real estate, who made bad decisions to build all this downtown office buildings. They shouldn't get the bailout.
Well, I was going to say, this is what I fear that happening in that the version of that, what it would look like is they would give a lot of money to the corporation owners, and the corporation owners would then use that money to try to incentivize people to come back into
Oh,
the office
God,
spaces
yeah.
against
That's
their will.
really
like,
the
pay them-
nightmare
instead of
scenario.
using that money to reimagine those
Right,
spaces or
right.
reimagine their businesses or
Right.
reimagine what you could do
Right.
and be like, oh, people want to stay at home with their cats and their like comfort and stuff, and
Yep.
they don't want to be in traffic and then in the office and then in lines at lunches and then back in traffic and then back at home by dark, like they don't
It's
want to do
horrible. It's horrible. I can't believe we live the way we live, or we did up until COVID. I mean, COVID was terrible because a lot of people got hurt, but man, silver linings for days with the work from home schedule stuff.
that. Yeah, I mean, it showed that a lot of businesses, you don't have to be sitting next to the other people that are doing it with
Just
you know what I mean?
inhaling their farts.
You
like
don't
on
have
the
to be
hourly.
right, or
Just-
listening to whatever,
Yeah.
or getting annoyed. I don't even have annoyances with my coworkers right now because I don't see them enough. You know
right.
what I mean?
You
Like,
just appreciate
they
them
can't get on
because
my
they're
nerves.
just
Yeah.
doing work for you.
Uh-huh.
Like when you ask for something, in a few days they give it back to
I'm
you.
like,
You're like,
when
this is
I see
amazing.
them, I'm like, hey, it's nice to see you.
yeah, it's actually, you should say,
I
it's
enjoy it.
actually nice to
Yeah.
see you instead of just, hi,
Do you know
good
how
to see you.
crappy this sounds to people who like hate their jobs right now? They're
No.
just like, please.
Well, push for work from home. Push for work from home. If you
It's true.
can, work from home's great, and the more people should do it, the merrier. And obviously my heart and my political support absolutely goes out to the workers who really have to be in the places they are. If you deliver food or you clean toilets or you go into a factory, I think those people should be paid a premium. The fact that they have to go do that. Everyone should be getting free commute, money for their commute. They should get paid while they're commuting. People should be fighting who have to go in. They should be fighting for more equity. Yeah, so like if there was a bottom-up bailout for the commercial real estate, it's hard to think about what it would be because who's the bottom in that case?
Right.
It would be like the tenants of it are also multi-billion-dollar corporations, so they're not the bottom, and the workers are really the bottom. But they're also very wealthy workers. They're like professional managerial class, office
Some, yeah,
workers.
sure. There's probably, working in the buildings of downtown San Francisco, it's probably runs the entire spectrum,
But it's not
right?
about so the bottom in that case is the support staff for the downtown.
Okay.
It's the people who run all the peripheral businesses downtown and the people who live and survive downtown. That's what it really should be. So the bottom up bailout would be, here's
I mean, you're talking me out of your idea right now.
No, I'm talking into
no
it.
bottom.
No, I'm finding the bottom.
Identify.
Look, I'm reaching rock bottom here. I'm trying to get to bottom.
That's important because you can't get better until after
you gotta hit rock
really
bottom
hit
first.
the rock bottom.
Yeah. So here's the bottom. Okay, I think I found the bottom. The bottom is, and by bottom, I really should say the foundation, like the best part.
Yeah, because we are saying bottom way too much.
Yeah,
right now.
I don't mean it's bad.
It's starting
or
to
low
lose
down.
its meaning. Like it's one of those words where you say it enough,
Yeah.
you don't hear the word anymore. Synesthesia, is that the?
No, is there a name for that?
There's a name for that.
Synesthesia is when you see something, but you then hear a noise, or you hear a noise and you see a color.
Oh, well, it's not
you
that
associate
Okay.
cross-sensory.
No, but there's something for when you say a word so much that it loses its meaning and you can't like.
I wish I knew that
grab hold of
word.
it. I'll find it.
Okay.
I'll enter it. Okay, I'll say it. I'll record the word and I'll enter it in right here. Semantic satiation. Okay, cool. Wasn't that a
Thank
cool
you,
word?
Scott. Thank you, future Scott. That was good. That
Totally
was good.
smooth.
Straight
Totally
from
smooth.
the straight
Perfect
from
edit.
straight from the edit. Put some pants on, Scott.
Hey,
we know what you're doing when
This is
you
an
edit.
audio
we know
medium.
you
It
don't
does
have any
not
pants
require
on.
pants.
You have pants on now, but we don't know when you're editing what's happening.
I mean,
It's probably a boxer brief
safe to
moment.
guess. Pants off is
Pants off. That's
the
what
way
work
to
from home is all about.
Of course.
The pants off Zoom meeting. Scott, honestly, have you ever done a pants?
They don't do a Zoom
off
from like
Zoom
the
meeting?
chest down. Like they don't want to see your knees and ankles.
That's bottom up Zoom. That's another idea.
the bottom up Zoom.
The bottom up Zoom.
I'm so surprised that bottom up Zoom, the company, didn't win out over top Zoom, the normal the normal version.
That's the current Zoom is top down Zoom.
Yeah, they ran a little A/B testing. They're like, what if all the meetings are only people's like shins? And it turns out,
How did that turn out?
not a lot of takers.
Surprising.
for those subscriptions. They're like, no, we'll take the Head and Shoulders version. Thank you very much.
Yes. They actually they were gonna call it Head and Shoulders, but then there was that pesky
The dandruff
shampoo. Yeah.
It's already.
I think dandruff is
Quarter
not
of the
real. I think it's a
What?
conspiracy.
You don't think it exists? Or
Yeah, I don't think it exists because every time I've been at a doctor's office before and I've had what I thought was dandruff and I showed them and they were like, you just have dry scalp. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, come again?
Isn't dandruff just
Dry scalp?
skin flakes that
Yeah.
come off your head?
Nope. It's a conspiracy.
You don't think
it
that
doesn't
exists?
exist? Nope. It's like the birds are robots conspiracy. You know the birds don't exist conspiracy?
We'll tell you what, I can prove this conspiracy wrong in about 4 days because we are sitting outside in the sun right now and I have very fair skin. So
you're gonna have
my
a
skin will
burned scalp.
sunburn and then peel and then I'll
That's
show
not
you.
dandruff. That's not dandruff.
It's skin
No,
flakes.
because I
coming
went
off
to
my
the
head.
doctor and I said, look, I've got skin flakes coming off. They said, you have dry scalp. If you went to the doctor, they'd say, well, you're just recovering from a sunburn. I don't think dandruff's a thing. I think it's something people made up to sell shampoo
I
that
think you
that
are
smells
actively
blue.
You are losing us credibility
Ah,
right now.
damn it.
Because dandruff is like a well-established.
Okay, let me
not-
return. Okay, let me
You're
return.
now the conspiracy guy.
I know, I'm conspiracy.
You're the crazy
I
no
know.
dandruff man.
I saw a documentary. about
A
this.
documentary about no dandruff.
Yep, and because
That
we
sounds
don't
like
have
the worst
we don't have
documentary.
because we don't have peer-reviewed documentaries, I can't know if it was true or not. I have no idea.
Well, I think here's a peer review. Here's a peer review from
You're
your
a peer. You're a peer.
at this
Okay,
podcast.
review this.
Yo, spend your time doing something better than watching dandruff documentaries, and then you won't run into this problem.
Well, anyways, okay, here's what I think the bottom of the downtown is. The bottom of the downtown is the downtown itself, which means the bailout should be whatever, how many billions of dollars go for the bailout should just go directly into the downtown.
Okay.
So like it's community organizations, like you go in and you say, hey, developers,
Okay.
grants for downtown. There's now $1 billion for grants for downtown, and the grants have to be economic resilience building. Because that's the problem with the downtown is that they didn't build for resilience. They
Okay.
built for capitalist precarity, right?
Right.
They built it for sort of capitalist efficiency precarity.
That's what capitalism tells you to do.
I
Right?
know,
Plan
they
for
screwed
infinite
up.
growth.
Right.
And then be
no
shocked.
problems and infinite
Be shocked
growth.
when that thing that's impossible.
When there is a
It turns
crisis,
out to not
get the
happen.
government to bail you out, right? That's what you do. Plan for perfection, and when there's a crisis, get the government to fix it.
Yep.
So instead, we reverse that. We say, hey, bottom out bailouts. If there's a commercial real estate crisis and they want bailouts, we call on Biden. We can talk to him in our next meeting.
Okay.
We call on Biden to instead create federal grants for economic resiliency in the downtowns of cities.
bottom up
bailouts.
So San
we kind of
Francisco-
did it for COVID. We kind of did it for COVID with the stimmies, right? The stimulus.
Yes.
check. That was a bottom up bailout. And
Which
it
other
was
countries
good.
were like, we'll do this every so often, multiple times. And
We
the
just
U.S.,
did it
I think it
once,
happened
yeah.
once or maybe twice
just
over
once,
the
I
3-year
think.
period or something.
We also had a bottom up bailout in a way, but then it ended. I think it should have just been permanent, which is the child tax credit. But that should just be ongoing. I mean, people should just have money if they have children, so that children are well taken care of.
Right. It seems like incentivizing families is a healthier structure than incentivizing CEOs, but I don't know. What do I know? I'm not a CEO.
Yeah,
I'm a
right.
member of a family.
Don't you understand?
I'm incredibly biased.
You're not supported by one of the CEOs of America. You got to go pick up
I'm working on it. I'm writing letters. I'm tweeting all the CEOs and asking if they want to adopt me.
Yeah, I'm already one of the adoptees. I got adopted.
Dear Daddy Bezos.
Chris Worth.
Chris
Worth, CEO of Chevron. We got to remember.
Oh, right.
Chris Worth.
We'd let that guy get away.
We always let his name just pass away, just slide away. Well, he adopted me now, which is what CEOs do. They adopt people. And if you didn't know this, you got to get on this.
CEOs adopt people?
Most CEO and billionaires too. They each adopt like 2 million people.
Well, it's because of
And
that
then
child
that
tax
covers
credit.
the whole.
It's the child tax credit is making CEO. They're like,
They want to
well,
get that tax credit.
I
I'm
guess-
going to adopt 2,000 people.
Here we are, Nike, the corporation. We need to adopt some adults now so that we can get our tax credit. Man, park people, I'm discovering park people are just very different from me in a lot of like I don't
'Cause they
my
have a tan-
vibe.
they have a
I don't
tan.
see my vibe represented a lot here.
Again, growth mindset, Scott. You gotta have a growth mindset. You can have it. You can have a tan too. Well, let's not live in fantasy
Come
land.
on now. All right, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Should I be a big bummer on this sunny day?
Why?
Man, there is definitely going to be another pandemic, almost for certain.
Today?
And it'll probably be way worse than COVID too.
Are you
I'm-
promising or
oh,
are you
yeah.
threatening? What do you
Well, because I read the other day and I was watching on YouTube and I read and then I verified it actually. The technology that it takes to make a virus used to be like millions of dollars and you needed like grad students and like PhDs in biology offices to be working like all the time.
Yeah.
But actually now, because of like just the advancement of biological technology, now anyone with like $1,000 can just like have the equipment they need to build a custom virus.
Well, thankfully the economy is so terrible that
Like, no one
not a lot
has-
of people have
no one has
$1,000.
$1,000.
But when it rebounds, oh boy, we're in trouble.
Yeah. So there's probably like, they're literally like, it's likely that right now, as we speak, multiple people are like playing around with like an Ebola virus and seeing if they
Why?
can't get
What are
it
you-
to
Why are
like
these
be a
smart
little
people being
weaker.
so irresponsible?
Well, because that's the thing. You actually don't have to be that smart anymore because the technology is so advanced. You can just be like, I learned a little bit about biology. I'm curious about synthetic viruses.
No.
You can learn about it in like one textbook. You can just buy it. You can
If
just
it
learn
only
it.
costs $1,000 to develop a virus, then develop the big muscles, handsome face virus and start infecting me with that. What are we doing? Why are we Ebola, the one
Well,
that
I
makes
think-
you bleed out of your
think-
eyes and your ears?
I think the reason why is because there's people who want to
Terrible.
shrink the population.
Like you mean like Rick Moranis?
Wait, who's that?
Rick Moranis, he shrunk his kids.
Oh
famously.
yeah, that's true.
Oh, you're not talking about that.
You're
type of-
talking about shrink, like make people small. Well, that would have the same effect, but no, I mean, there's groups of people who want to actually shrink the population of the Earth.
Is that a thing?
Oh yeah.
They
There's
like
two
want
groups.
to
There's
release
two groups.
Ebola to
Yep.
make the world. They think they want to release Ebola to make the world better.
There's two groups that want to do this. One is people who are very concerned with the climate.
Okay.
So super like people who are ecologically really like this. They really see human beings. I don't believe in this. I'm a humanist, environmentalist. So I believe that humans are great and the environment's great, and we need them both to flourish together.
Okay.
But there are environmentalists out there who are anti-humanists. You know, they really think human beings are kind of like a scourge. It's a very sad perspective because human beings are great, as evinced by the amazing flourishing of humans around us at the park. But that's one group. The other group is like really dark death cult billionaires and millionaires who really think like, well, I can insulate myself and my friends and family from any kind of bad pandemic. And if like 2 billion people died, that would actually be like better because I could like buy more land and stuff. Like they have a really bad. There are actual services. This is a real thing. There are actual services where you have like an app on your phone that you like verify that it's you, and then you like press like the big red button and instantly like hired like mercenary black ops men like come to your location instantly, following all these procedures to like be clean, like biologically clean, and they pick you up like in car or helicopter, wherever you are.
This is a Mission Impossible
No,
movie,
this is a
bro.
real
What are you
thing.
talking about?
This is a real service that wealthy people have.
Okay.
If you're like a billionaire, you have this. It's like comes with your Amex card, and you pay every year, $10 million or $15 million, just so that if you ever need it, you can press a button and like black ops guys like rappel from the helicopter and pick you up and take you to like your safe.
No.
Yes.
No, this
And
is
so
not
they
what to
don't
do
care
with
if
money.
they don't care if there's an Ebola
Make
virus.
a house with 60-foot ceilings
They
and all the
don't
floors
care.
are trampolines. What are you doing? Why are you not spending your money in more fun ways?
This is if Scott, if
What?
you were in the movie Blank Check.
I would never be
this
a
is
good
what-
rich person. I
No,
mean,
you'd be a great rich
I
person. You
would
just
know.
said you
That's
would
what I'm
build a
telling you.
60-foot.
It would be interesting,
a
but
60-foot.
I wouldn't be rich for very long. Okay, so how would we make a bottom-up bailout start? You would have to start it by
I think we need it
going
I think-
around
I
the
think
lobbyists, right? The lobbyists who represent the top down.
But there are lobbyists for like retirement funds. Like there are lobbyists for the people,
Okay.
There are lobbyists for the people. There's also, like the Bernie-crat sort of democratic socialist sort of people. There's a lot of people out there who really, like for example,
But it sounds like you're just saying,
Kana,
give money to the people I like, but
It's not
how do
just
we-
people I like. I mean, regular people. I don't always love regular people, but I definitely don't think it's sustainable for society to just. Well, here's what we're really getting at: disaster capitalism. Have you heard this term?
no, disaster.
So yeah, disaster
capitalism?
capitalism, or it's also called the shock doctrine, which was invented by Naomi Klein. She wrote this book called The Shock Doctrine, but it's developed more into what I think in a more mature way is called disaster capitalism.
What is that?
That's where basically we've built a society. Russell Brand talks about this. He's coming up again and again in our episodes. So we've built a economic system in which the wealthiest people who did make decisions about society, big decisions, they actually benefit from crises. Like everyone knows, Bill
Right.
Gates, Jeff Bezos made $100 billion during the pandemic. His stock shot up, and Amazon made a lot of money
During COVID, there was an
Yeah.
enormous wealth transfer up.
right
to,
and
like,
so
the
and
top.
so and with bailouts even more the
Yeah.
wealthy people make money, which means you've actually incentivized them to promote crises to happen because everyone responds to incentives. I'm not saying we're controlled by incentives. We can make decisions
Right.
against them, but over the long run and over time and on average, people respond to incentives. And so if there's an incentive for wealthy people to cause crises, then they'll promote economic systems and
How-
political systems that create crises. And that's called disaster capitalism.
How have we not closed that loop yet? Because I mean, like, that just seems like the peacetime version of war profiteering.
It
like,
is.
like war profiteering.
Well, we do
is
that now,
illegal.
too.
We're not allowed. You're not supposed to.
War profiteering is not illegal.
What?
War profiteering is like the main thing America does. That's
like
like our greatest
Price
business.
gouging and price fixing, like being opportunistic in disaster, like on a small scale, is
Oh,
illegal.
oh.
You know what I mean? Like it's illegal for a gas station to raise its rates
No,
during
it's
like a hurricane
not.
or whatever.
Maybe it
Yeah,
is in
there's-
some
there's certain
cases.
things,
Yeah, in
like-
sometimes,
where you
governors
can't
will like
do like, I
declare
don't
a
know,
state
man,
of
$35 for
emergency
this
and-
bottle of water, and you're like, you can't do
yeah.
that.
Well, you
But-
can until the governor or the president like says you can't. But yeah. But I hear you. Yeah.
So
we
it-
haven't
it
closed
really
that
just
loop. We have to,
incentivizes,
we
like you're
live
saying.
we live in a disaster capitalism environment where
Ugh.
every 2 to 3 years there's a major crisis and the wealthier make more money than they did before because they benefit from the crisis. But if we had a law, if Ro Khanna, this is a call to Ro Khanna, my man Ro, if Ro Khanna and those kind of people actually care about people, made a law called the Bottom-Out Bailout Act. And in that act, it said, here's the laws, here's how we do bailouts. And the bailouts, we instruct the executive. The executive must seek the least, the most democratic way for bailout funds to be distributed in every
Right.
crisis.
Right.
That would be, I don't know exactly how to craft the law because I'm not some legislator. Who
I
knows
wonder
how
if
to
you
write
could
laws,
directly
but-
tie. That's the other thing that sticks in a lot of people's craws is the people at the the captains of these ships that go down
Yeah.
get rewarded with
Oh,
these
yeah. They
enormous
get
paychecks
bailouts
and guaranteed
Yeah.
stuff, which is locked in, and they,
Oh, yeah.
and they lock it in before they even take the
Yeah,
job
they
because
get
they're
a
like
golden
no,
parachutes.
when the stuff's going bad, I want this already to be locked in.
Right,
But
right.
if there was a way to like tie that compensation to performance, the way that like everyone else's
Yep.
job is pretty much tied
Yep.
compensation to performance, and
Yep.
not have a thing where you get rewarded on your way out. The golden parachute is what people get.
Oh
really,
yeah, they get the
really
golden
upset
parachute.
about,
or
you
even
know?
not even a parachute. They just get bailed out. They keep
But-
their job and they get a bonus
How do you?
because they handled the bailout so well.
I don't know how you can monitor
It's
that
crazy.
because that is what companies are offering to like
It has to be the
attract
people.
talent.
It has
attract
to be
talent.
the
They're
people.
it's this corporation version of a signing bonus for like a athlete.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
we want to get you here over our
That's what they're trying to
competitors,
do.
and that's
Yeah,
how we're
yeah,
going to do it
yeah.
is by guaranteeing you this
Even
giant
if you
windfall of money
fail.
later.
Yeah.
Which we're never going to consider the idea
Yeah.
of you failing later because we
Then-
have this wild capitalism
Right.
that says infinite growth is our model, and anybody who fails to infinitely is a failure, and it's not the model's fault at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's your fault for not
I
creating an
think
impossibility.
it has to be just unions should get involved, and it's the whole kind of not like social left, but economic left. I mean, this doesn't matter. I'm not talking about like race or gender or something. I'm talking about economic left wing stuff. Unions, universal health care, universal access to education, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's where it's got to come from. I mean, I don't like solutions that are like pass a law. I don't like that. I prefer it to be like something that people can do without having to like go through this sort of complex, political legislative process.
Right.
But in this case, it's like, I think it's an idea that should be out there. People should have that it should be a plank in the
Yeah, because
platform.
I mean, I feel like the general vibe is already like people don't like the fact that it goes to the business owner. The bailouts go to who they go to,
Yeah.
and get used how they get used. But like you're saying, there's not a lot of power you have from the
Right.
bottom up at this. They've designed it very insulary, so
Right.
they're like, we are both the decision makers and the purse string holders, and this works out very nicely
Right, we
for
love this.
us.
Yeah. And if you said, well, we have bottom up bailouts, that would actually end disaster capitalism. Because now there would be no incentive for the wealthy. Actually, there'd be a disincentive because
Right.
when there's a bottom up bailout, the government calls up those rich people and says, you need to show up in Washington tomorrow, or like get on your plane today and get here because you have to. Like, the government can say you're sort of arrested, like you have to come in and we have to solve this problem. And guess what? The solution doesn't include you getting a pay increase or a bonus.
Right.
The solution means your stock's going to get cut down by 30% because the government's going to commandeer your wealth to fix the people's wealth. And so the rich are going to be like, oh my God, we need to build more resilient economic systems and ecological systems
Yeah.
so that we don't have any more crises, right? We need to make it so that it burns the rich whenever there's a crisis. The rich need to feel the brunt of crises more than the rest of us.
Instead
Because
of
then they'll make choices to avoid crises.
right, exactly.
You
Because
know?
if you do something that makes you more wealthy every time, you're
Yeah.
gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, and every time there's a crisis, people who could have avoided it over the past few years just go, "Oh shucks,
Yeah.
oh shucks,
Oh, that was
oh well."
that would have been. I feel really bad for you as my
Shucks.
bottom line goes up drastically.
right. Oh shucks, like pandemic preparedness. Has there been more money now put into
I was gonna say,
pandemic preparedness?
when you
I
say
haven't
there's
heard
definitely
anything.
another
I haven't
pandemic
read
coming,
anything.
I'm like, well, we've certainly learned very few.
I don't think
to-
we've learned anything.
to the wrong
Yeah.
lessons from the last one, and it seems like, if anything, the thing that's going to break first is the goodwill that was in place, where people actually tried to kind of like help each other for a little while, and then everybody was like, oh, it's everybody for themselves. Okay, cool. And I don't think we'll even get that grace period of people helping each other
They'll
at the
be
next
dug
one.
in.
It's
They'll be
gonna
dug in from day one.
We've already kind of wrecked our initial our immune response, our natural societal immune response to a pandemic. We've already sort of weakened that
yeah.
by having one and performing pretty poorly in this
Yeah.
country, at least,
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, everyone,
Bottom up winter.
Yeah,
That's
feel-
what we call it in
feel
Game of
good.
Thrones.
Love
Bottom
to-
up winter.
love to
Because
make
winter is coming.
love to leave people with a feeling of depression and dread. It's like
Just-
we've watched
it's
Oppenheimer all over again.
It's
You're
coming.
leaving the theater.
Just get ready to just bend over and kiss your ass goodbye.
Yeah.
Because things are gonna. Yeah. There's. I mean, even if you're not like a doom and gloomer, which I'm generally optimistic. about the world, generally. But I'm just saying, there will be more crises.
You're like,
there will be more.
It's going to be bad, and it's going to come, and we're not going to be ready for it. And good luck, everybody.
Yeah,
it seems like such a counter message on this beautiful day.
Well, at the same time, a lot of good
things
things are happening too. Every day there's scientific discoveries.
There's people over there selling bacon-wrapped hot dogs.
Bacon-wrapped.
You can't tell me there are no good things in this world. I see them with my eyes.
There are good things. That's the world we live in. There are good things happening, and there are the risks of bad things happening.
Yeah.
When the pandemic was happening, a lot of things happened that were good too. People got married, people had kids, people started businesses, when the stock market's going down, that just means that 49% of it's going up and 51% of it's going down. It's not like the whole world is going to hell in a handbasket. But I think in this limited respect, we should be honest with ourselves. We live in a disaster capitalist system where the wealthy are incentivized to create greater disasters. If we cut that off, the wealthy would be incentivized to build economic and ecological and, epidemiological resilience.
And if like you're saying, if the bailouts don't come to them to pay for their mistakes, if they go to
their
the people
workers and
that
their
got
consumers
impacted by their mistakes, then it gives them yet another pause to
go,
maybe we can avoid the things that we should avoid. We should avoid those things if we can.
Right. So that's the idea. Bottom out bailouts.
Like
Get in there. Call your senator. Call your congressman.
Start at the bottom.
I'm sorry to say that because I hate that. I don't like that to be the solution. But in this case, I think that is. I can't think of how you'd do it otherwise.
It's not you need legislation
locally.
For this. Great experiment, Adam. This is a great idea. I'm a little inside boy, and I was hesitant, but you got us out here, and I'm so happy.
We got to do this every time.
This has been great.
This is gorgeous. Yeah.
I got some tape of us walking around talking to people ahead of time. I'm not sure where I'll put that. Maybe at the beginning, maybe at the end. But
or maybe it's a whole episode.
That
was a nice conversation.
Maybe
with
so.
Kyle.
Yeah.
Mini episode. Could be good.
That'd be fun.
Well, thanks everybody for listening, tuning in.
Thanks for joining us.
And tell a friend, rate us, subscribe.
That's right.
Let's make this into a real thing. If we can get 1,000 subscribers, that's our goal. If we can get 1,000 subscribers, that turns us into like a real thing. That really makes us sustainable.
That's the next hurdle to get to.
Join the Solutions Club and maybe we'll make a Discord. Should we make a Discord?
I am not technical. I will leave that type of stuff to you.
10 seconds. It's so easy. But if there's an interest in a Discord, I think we'll make it and put it in the link.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Put it in the episode link.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us, for spending your time with us. We appreciate it as always. And we'll see you again next week.
Keep it climatey.
Keep it climatey. All right.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
What is the multiverse?
That's it.